Hey, what's going on, world? This is Jim from www.unblindforlife.blogspot.com. This is the Coffee House News for May 1st, 2009. It's Friday. Well, this will be my last post and the last thing I'm going to say about the swine flu, hopefully. In the midst of all this hysteria surrounding the swine flu, let's keep in mind that thousands, upwards of 30,000 people die every year from the regular flu, and it's never even mentioned in the mainstream media. But we are currently inundated on the alphabet networks, online and in print, about the swine flu. What I think is important to remember is that while we are being distracted with this event that really hasn't touched home to us in a very serious manner, there's a bill in Congress that they debated this week. I believe it's 564, but it is called the Save Our Climate Act of 2009. And I understand there's a lot of people that want to get things done where the climate's concerned. But what this bill does is essentially charges $10 per ton on all fossil fuels, be that oil, crude, natural gas, coal, whatever kind of coal, shale, you name it. The corporations that deal in fossil fuels are not going to pay that themselves. You are. They're going to hike up their rates, and it's going to filter down the chain. Keep in mind, if you don't already know, that anything made out of oil, the price is going to go up. And that includes anything made out of plastic. Anything made from plastic. The estimates run about $3,700 per family per year. On top of that, this bill calls for a $10 per ton increase every year until carbon emissions have reached 20% of the level they were in 1990. So the question to ask yourself is, do these corporations really care? Because at the same time that they pass this bill, these same corporations are going to inundate us with 30,000 some odd commercials a year asking us, telling us what we need to go buy. So we're going to be encouraged to shop for the same products that they're supposedly being encouraged to find a different way to make. I don't understand how this is good for anybody. I don't get it. Electrical power plants that burn coal to produce electricity, that don't have a clean coal, they don't have scrubbers, they're going to have to retrofit their operation. What do you think that's going to do to the service rates for customers who live in an area that has to get retrofitted? Their rates are going to skyrocket. I live in the state of Illinois, and I've seen exorbitant increases in my power bill over the last 5 years. It's gross what's happened to the power rates here in the portion of Illinois that I live in, and I've seen comments around the tube and around the net from other residents of Illinois the same way. And I don't know, we're not the only ones. So let's also keep in mind that in Mexico, in this little bitty town where they believe this all started, there's a hog farm right upstream, right upwind from this community that slaughters almost 1 million pigs a year. The report was 950,000 pigs, I believe, last year. And these people started complaining months ago that it was in the air and the water, and it was causing them to get sick. We don't hear about that in the mainstream media. We only hear about this virus and how fast and easy it spreads, the symptoms of which are so vague that it can only be identified in a lab. And right now, today, we have 100 confirmed cases in the United States. Keep in mind also that in 2005 there was a huge flu scare in China, and Donald Rumsfeld ordered all members of the United States military to be vaccinated with Tamiflu and to set aside $1 billion worth of Tamiflu stockpiles. And Bush came along right behind him and riding the tails of that panic and that hype. He in turn ordered $2 billion more be set aside in Tamiflu stocks. Now, Tamiflu is made by a company that Donald Rumsfeld owns stock in. that during that period saw a 700% increase. That's all I have to say about that. On to other things. I've decided that I've lost the point of what it is I started these videos for. We can talk about the corruption in our government and the conspiracies involving our government. I mean, you could spend days researching Pearl Harbor, the Gulf of Tonkin, the Reichstag fire, 9/11, chemtrails, Project Bluebeam, whatever hits home. What I have to say to you about that is I would love to see an investigation into 9/11, a real investigation by the citizens of the United States. Form a panel, gather the evidence, release the information, and see what happens. The problem with that is it will happen again. It's happened before. It will happen again. I don't see it as a winning battle. I think it's smart to stay aware. I think it's smart to let Washington know that we are aware as a citizenry. The problem is, and my real goal and intention with starting all of this was to discuss the topic of this culture and this civilization that kills and destroys every day, every single day. We are so disconnected from nature and from the land base that we derive our very life from, that it's sickening. Derrick Jensen will tell you that if your source of food is the grocery store and your source of water is the tap, then you will defend those things with your life. And if your source of water is a stream and your source of food is the land, the animals and plants that live there, you will defend those with your life. And what we've lost touch with is, even though the water comes from the tap and the food from the grocery store, it still comes from the land base and the streams and the rivers and the aquifers, which we poison and destroy on a daily basis. This civilization is not sustainable. This culture is not sustainable. This suburban hell that I'm trapped in, along with a lot of you, is not sustainable. It will someday come to a screeching halt. And in the words of Derrick Jensen, the longer it takes, the messier it's going to be. If you haven't read Endgame Volume 1 by Derrick Jensen, you need to. If you haven't read Ishmael by Daniel Quinn, you need to. If you haven't seen The Crash Course by Chris Martenson, chrismartenson.com, check it out. It'll take you a couple hours to watch it. Very, very enlightening. And he's not coming from a philosophical point of view or religious point of view. He's coming from straight up economics. This is a guy who sees the writing on the wall. Do you? I do. I'm sick and tired of talking heads. I'm fed up with propaganda. I'm sickened by mediocrity, complacency. I'm done. The whole thing needs to come down. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you've watched any of these, I'm going to continue to report on the news to a certain degree. I'm not going to get too caught up in too much of the daily happenings, only the big items, because I still believe this is a slow process, and I know that we could make things better if we could reform and revolutionize our government. We have become the very thing that we fought for freedom from. And it grows worse daily. It's just sickening. We don't even talk to each other anymore. We text message. This world is full of babysitters. The TV, the Xbox, the PS3, the iPhone. We as people will be forced to look at each other through different eyeballs. We'll be forced to get together to help each other out. And that's what we've lost. We've lost more than that. That's just one thing. This could be an hour video. We could sit and talk about this all night long. So I'm going to let you go for now. Have a safe, fun, happy weekend. Live your life, but stay unblind for life. I'm out.